Hey, good morning, Mark and Lou, with the extra point of view. Good morning, Lou.
Good morning.
All right, we're going to break down the SEC championship. Just
Unfortunately.
before we jump into it, Lindsay was dead on the money. She absolutely has been talking to me for the last 2 months about the question mark over the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And admittedly, in our last podcast, I was sort of on you about giving him some credit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can, run, he can throw, he can, manage the clock and all that. And what we saw Saturday was, he was in the shadow of one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen. I mean, Bryce Young won the Heisman that Saturday.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they gave it to him Sunday night, but amazing. So obviously that's why Lou is on this program. I am just to tee her up because she's got the insight, she's got the knowledge. But
it's been here before, so.
Yeah. So what are your takeaways? And of course, I'll just go ahead and say this as well. I got a whole new, and this is hard for me to say as a Gamecock, I have a whole new level of respect for the Georgia fans. Mm-hmm. Number one, just how they tailgate. Because that was a strong performance before and after the game.
Yep. Never lose that.
I'm telling you, you guys play at a very high level. Yeah. And then just the way they're fans. So, Lou and I actually sat next to each other at the SEC championship. Tough game for the Bulldogs.
With Alabama fans in front and behind of us.
Oh.
So they weren't too bad, though.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Defense was amazing, but, Bryce Young just, I guess, had the game of his life. Right?
Yeah, he needed to, and he did. So I don't know if we just didn't give him enough credit or just Alabama had to have the game of their life. They were fighting for their spot in the playoffs, and that's what they did. And, I don't know if Georgia was just resting on their laurels or, if we really didn't prepare. But, they did what they needed to do.
Well, and the thing that I had said that you and I talked about a lot was that the defense needed to be aggressive. They needed to blitz, and they did blitz. Mm-hmm. And Alabama
at the end
picked them up a lot. But then, again, Bryce Young made 20-yard strikes with defenders hanging around, his waist. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you defend against that.
Yeah. Unfortunately. I don't think Georgia had seen anything like that before either. But we had a lot of game tape to watch and still didn't prepare accordingly, in my mind.
But in real time, that number one for Alabama, what's it, Jameis Williamson? Mm-hmm. I think he might be the fastest man on the planet.
Yeah, they have the best wide receiver, so,
So, putting that one behind us, we're going to the playoffs now. We've got an interesting matchup, Georgia and Michigan. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
To be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Michigan. They're teams up north. So
yeah, and of course they crushed Ohio State, with a very dominant running game. Mm-hmm. But the Big Ten does not have a great record against the SEC when it comes to this time of year, right?
Right.
So I think the spread is around 7 points. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll see. Looking forward to that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We'll break that down a little bit. And then the Alabama-Cincy game, at least on paper, it seems a little lopsided.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe they hang around for a quarter, but I don't see how Cincinnati hangs with Alabama, especially if they play like they played in the SEC championship, right?
Right. I definitely don't think Cincinnati has seen anybody like Alabama. So
no, and I think that while I think in my mind, the playoff committee did the right thing putting them in. I mean, you couldn't put Notre Dame ahead of them when they beat Notre Dame, right? They're undefeated. They've, quote, done everything that anybody's asked them to do. I think it'll be interesting. And I think this probably, I mean, you tell me what you think, but this is probably one of those times when it sort of leads everybody to think about an expanded playoff system, right?
For sure.
Because there's some good teams on the bubble.
Yeah.
Right. But obviously, I think at least for the committee picking 4 teams, they picked the right 4.
Yeah, this year.
Going into it, which leads us to the rematch.
Yeah.
In Indianapolis, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Of Georgia and Alabama. So what are your thoughts on that? So obviously we've got a few weeks before that happens. What does Georgia need to do to sort of bounce back from what happened at the championship?
Show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be the underdog, and then maybe they'll have the chip on their shoulder, right?
Yeah, definitely have something to prove. I mean, it is hard for me to even think about that, but I don't know if I can stand to watch another Alabama-Georgia game like the SEC championship was. But, the troubling thing is that we've heard that there was no discussion of bringing JT Daniels in for the SEC championship game at all. And, as poor of a performance as Stetson had, how can you not start talking about bringing someone else in? I mean, I know he's got to flow with his players and everything like that, but, I
heard some conspiracy theories after the game about JT. I mean, so who's their number? If JT's not going to go in, I mean, South Carolina had to use their third string guy, and
we
he
put
was the guy
back in the cupcake games, but I don't think he can handle a national championship game. I don't know, maybe he can, but that's our third string, so I don't know. It's really hard to think about. Well,
you were dead on the money that one. I wouldn't obviously caught me by surprise, caught a lot of people by surprise. The question is, Bryce Young had the drive of a lifetime in the Auburn game, right? The week before. Amazing. I think he definitely put himself into the front runner position for the Heisman.
Yeah.
And in the SEC championship, he won it.
I think it just all goes back to Saban being Saban. I mean, it's very hard to outcoach him. And he has all the pieces that he can use, and he uses them at the exact right time. So I don't know if we'll ever get over that hump of, if Kirby can beat Saban, because Saban just knows. He just knows the right things to do.
Game plan was amazing. It was pretty, spectacular to watch it.
Yeah.
Just from a game plan standpoint. I mean, they ran those slants against Georgia.
Yeah, that was tough.
And then, which is the podcast we'll get into next, is all these head coaches, Saban in particular, to be able to restock after, your offensive and defensive coordinators get poached, right?
Right.
Which is what we'll talk about in our next podcast.
Absolutely.
All right, Lou. Great to be with you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, guys.